Washington, man. He was in a cult. And the cult was in aliens, man. You didn't know that?
Got a dream, baby.
It's you.
It's me.
Just because the blood was in my hand doesn't mean I stabbed the man.
The water's boiling.
Hello!
Just standing up for my rights as a consumer.
You guys planning on seeing any shows when you're in town?
You're God.
I'm a god. I'm not the god.
Don't leave me hanging!
I've been dreaming about killing you for 40 years. Keep dreaming. I promised myself I wouldn't cry.
Hey, and we're live. Welcome to the 34th edition of the Countdown with me, JPO, Jordan Chris So, and sit down and do some sort of countdown, usually involving movies, not always, but usually. I'm not alone today. Wait, that sounded weird. I'm here with Brian Michaels. How you doing?
I'm doing good, although I thought I was here for a wrestling countdown. What the hell?
Oh, hey, all right, we're pivoting. We're doing some wrestling. What's your number 10 female wrestler of the 80s?
I might be able to actually participate if it's about the 80s. I might know something.
Hey. But how you doing tonight, Brian? You ready for the year
I'm
1993?
You asked me to do this. I made up a list. I gave you something to choose from. You chose a topic. You schedule it. Then you can't. You overslept, and then so you reschedule it, and then you canceled.
I couldn't
and
do
so
it.
Reschedule it.
Reschedule.
And then you postponed again.
And postpone because we're really.
And now I'm here, maybe, or
Now we're
maybe
here.
this is just some big prank. I don't know.
Yeah, this is not even. We're not. This is going nowhere. I've never even seen a movie from '93. I was only 3. I didn't watch movies, and no. But I appreciate your time and your patience. Thanks for spilling all that dirty laundry live on the air. But yeah, 1993. Start us off. We've got some honorables, and then your number 10.
All right, want me to start off with honorable mentions? Okay.
Yeah. I'll do those last. Yeah, which one?
93 was a good year. Honestly,
It was.
I had a hard time deciding. I mean, I kind of had most of my top 10, but the honorable mentions I had a harder time narrowing down.
Oh.
But here's what I went with: Son-in-Law, which
Hey.
not as good as Encino Man, but I still think it's a lot of fun.
Agreed.
Plus, Carla
I enjoyed
Gugino, so, you know how it is.
Never wrong.
Tombstone, which a lot of people would have much higher. I like Tombstone a lot. I like even my honorable mentions. I like all these. I just don't love it as much as a lot of people do.
Blind Spot.
My third honorable mention is Groundhog Day. Another one I think a lot of people might have higher, but honestly, it's in the last couple of years. It's just kind of it's dropped a little bit for me. I've always enjoyed it, but it's like it's become this thing. Well, first of all, Bill Murray hasn't made a good movie in like 20 years, so that kind of hurts.
St. Vincent, The Last Ghostbusters.
Well, the last Ghostbusters doesn't count. He's barely in it.
Okay.
But I meant like a Bill Murray movie. But so it's like so his stock kind of has dropped somewhat for me, but it's like I still enjoy the movie. I just don't love it as much. Plus, it's like the kind of thing that you watch or like you hear everybody else talking about every single year around Groundhog Day. I'm like, okay, let's just calm down. My fourth honorable mention actually come back out to theaters in October if you want to see it. The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's kind of in the middle of that Disney 90s run of like their best movies ever. Right between this one came out between Aladdin and Lion King, and it's not as good as those. Obviously, it's a stop motion movie, so it's different than their other ones, but it's still a lot of fun. I love the music in it mostly. I think that sometimes when the non-musical areas, it tends to slow down a little bit too much, but I still enjoy that one. Also, Paul Rubens, R.I.P. And my last honorable mention is Dazed and Confused, which is a movie. Honestly, when I first watched it, I didn't like that much, but it has grown on me over the years. Part of that's due to the fact that it's got this cast of people who were nobodies, and like now they're all like superstars, like McConaughey and Affleck and all these people, and even some of the even smaller roles, like they've maybe not as big as those two, but it's still like a lot of people like before they were stars kind of thing.
Between that and Empire Records, I really miss Rory Cochrane. He did not become a huge star.
No, he didn't. He ended up on one of the CSI.
He's on some TV show for a while. Yeah, I just remember I saw those two literally back to back in the last year, and I was like, I'm really impressed with this dude. Where's he been?
And then you went, oh yeah, nowhere.
Oh, but yeah, a lot of people popping up in that. Yeah, like that was actually a recent watch for me.
But that's all my honorable mentions. What do you got?
No, I'll you go. What's your number 10, and then I'll do my.
Okay, we start at number 10. Okay.
Yeah.
My number 10. I'm going to have some. There's some obvious ones in this list, There's some very not obvious ones on this list. One of them is this one. You can't even watch it on digital. So it's never streaming or anything. But it's a movie I love since it first came out. It's called Heart and Souls, starring Robert Downey Jr. This is a movie about a kid. Well, there's four people who back in like the 60s died in this bus crash, and played by Keira Sedgwick, Tom Sizemore, Alfred Woodard, and Charles Grodin. And their souls basically get attached to this kid. Like this kid is the only one who can see him. But then they're like kind of his friends. But then people start thinking he's crazy because he's like seeing things. Yeah, there it is right there. And so basically, the ghosts decide for his benefit, for the kid's benefit, they're going to disappear so he can't see them anymore. But they're still stuck to him. So he grows up to be Robert Downey Jr. Then they realize they need his help, so they reappear. Robert Downey Jr. is going crazy, and wackiness ensues. Anyway, this is like Robert Downey Jr. before he was the superstar, before like his downfall and came back with Iron Man. But I thought he was a lot of fun in it. It's got Elizabeth Shue in it, who I've had a crush on since the 80s. It's just a great fun film, and I'm hoping someday they'll put on like digital and that so more people can see it.
Yeah, I'm just saying, not only this is a blind spot, but I love this about the countdown sometimes. I've never heard of this and never seen this trailer, and yeah, that's all right. I see Charles Grodin, I feel like I saw. All right.
Yeah, it's directed by Ron Underwood, who's the same guy who did like City Slickers and actually Tremors.
Tamer.
A bunch of stuff, yeah.
All right, yeah, no, cool. I like that. Yeah, no, it's actually it's kind of hard to find. Let's see if someone puts it out there. What was it? Henry was just reporting today that a couple of new things have dropped to digital, so you never know. Let's see. For my honorables, right outside of my list, I love it. Great action flick. It's just right outside. Is Cliffhanger with good old Sly Stallone. What's Eating Gilbert? Great. Depp and DiCaprio. Mrs. Doubtfire, you saw from the intro. Again, if you asked 5-year-old me, he'd be very mad at Cliffhanger.
Oh yeah, my list like even just 10 years ago would be very different, especially back in '93. Yeah.
Yeah, the only young me's mad Cliffhanger is not number one and Doubtfire is two. Rudy is right outside of my list. Fun sports one there with Aston. And speaking of sports, Cool Runnings, it's right outside my list as well with John Candy. And how dare Roger Ebert and Roper or Ebert and Siskel at that point question Fat John Candy being a sled runner? Come on, it's possible. People get weight later on in life. My number 10 is True Romance. Tarantino script, but not Tarantino directed, but definitely has some similar flavors as well here. Just a great R-rated. Again, like you said, you very much feel the Tarantino aspect in it. Probably one of my favorite Christian Slater roles as well. Him and Patty Arquette, Stoner Pitt in it. And then even Gary Oldman is having a little bit of fun here as well. Walken Hopper, man, again, just great 90s. There's my camera. Maybe I lost myself for a second there. But yeah, a lot of fun here. A good, gritty, R-rated movie here that's about love or some version of it, and a lot of fun. So True Romance comes in at my number 10. What you got at number 9?
My number 9, you actually just mentioned. My number 9 is Cool Runnings. This is a movie, like, actually, this and Heart and Souls are both movies that, I don't think would ever come out in theaters today because they don't make these movies anymore. These kind of mid-budget, they aren't like the independent movies, but they aren't big budget blockbusters. These are little movies that if you see them in all these days, it's like made for, like, this would be a Disney Plus movie. They would just make it for streaming. They'd never release something like this for theaters. But it's a movie that came out, most people didn't know the story, or maybe just all they heard was Jamaican bobsled team. And it was just a lot of fun. And I mean, John Candy was good in it, but actually the four sledders, or whatever you want to call them, they were the best part of the movie. I loved the dialogue in it. They made a great comedy of it, but it was still, especially in the end, it was like that very, like a real sports movie, just kind of very uplifting, moments. And it was very good.
No, I dig it too, man. I think there's a lot of heart here. I think he's great. You mentioned the bobsledders. I'm trying to look at just one of them's Leon, I believe.
And it just forever had me and all my friends always saying, "Zink, are you dead?"
Good one here. I like that one. Like I said, that was right outside of my list. Number 9, I think it's really, a worthy enough sequel of Wayne's World 2.
It's worthy.
Not worthy, man. The continuation of good old Garth and Wayne in their worlds, and I think it's still easily maybe the best SNL movies that we've gotten yet so far, because they really built a nice world for these two here. Building Wayne stock here. Again, you got some players coming to play. Ed O'Neill, Christopher Walken trying to steal the girl. Hey, Walken, my number 10, number 9. Good for you, Chris. If you build, they will come. I think it's a worthy enough sequel here. I still find myself laughing a lot here. They have some really fun cameos as well. I think it was Heston going for the Oscar. There's a good moment here, amongst others. Wayne's World 2, a good comedy sequel, coming in at number 9. What you got for number 8, Brian?
I did like Wayne's World. It didn't quite make my list, but I like that a lot. It's not as good as the first one, but still fun.
Yeah.
At number 8, another one which I don't know if you've heard of. Not a lot of people have seen. It's a movie called Indian Summer. This is a movie that stars Alan Arkin, Bill Paxton, Diane Lane, Matt Craven, Julie Warner, Elizabeth Perkins, Kevin Pollak. Sam Raimi is a supporting role in this. He's funny as hell. He's the funniest part of the movie. He's just has no lines, I don't think.
What?
But it's just like the comic relief. He's like this takes place at like an old summer camp that's going to be closing down. So Alan Arkin, who ran the camp, decides to bring back the 6 people from like the heyday of it, and he invites them back to kind of spend the week there. And it's kind of like a Big Chill kind of thing. It's like they're all kind of dealing with their own issues, but it's a comedy, but it's definitely got some drama to it. Sam Raimi plays like the caretaker who's there, and he's just the comic relief. He's kind of like falling in the water and doing all kinds of weird slapsticky things. But it's fun to see Sam Raimi just acting and not just
yeah.
This is one of those. I love this kind of cast too, where it's like there's no superstars in this cast. It's like just kind of this cast of like people that and who I really think are a lot of great actors and a lot of my favorites, like Bill Paxton and Diane Lane and stuff. But it's not like a superstar that's kind of overshadowing everybody else. But this is one that it's got you nostalgic if you ever went to any kind of summer camp, things like that. And also just and actually now when I watch it, I feel more for these adults, getting all nostalgic for their past. There's Sam Raimi right there, just fell in the dock. Indian Summer. Have you seen this one?
I no, I feel like I vaguely have heard of it. I definitely don't remember even Raimi doing acting though. So that intrigues me just from that.
So that's what I had at number 8. What do you got?
Number 8, also in my intro, not done on purpose. Download a bunch of clips and threw some in there. Guy Falling Down, Michael Douglas vehicle from there. I think it's a great Michael Douglas performance. There's something different than I think we've seen in a lot of other movies from him. Just a guy who's had enough, and whether you agree with some of the things he does in the movie here, sometimes I think do agree with him, and almost wish that you could just have one of those days where you just don't take bullshit from anybody and can just say and do whatever you want. You know what I mean? It's kind of escapism entertainment in that aspect as well here. But again, I think it's a great performance here, different from what we've seen him do a lot here. Just something that kind of grips you and entertains you kind of from beginning to end, wondering where, how is this, day going to end for him. Duvall's really good as well. So, we got Falling Down.
Everybody's had those kind of days, and he gets to say everything like you always wanted to say, like when he sees the picture of the burger versus what he gets, and you're like, I've had that moment so many times.
It's never as good looking. I know those sexy photos. I don't know how they do it versus what they actually give you. What you got? We're at number 7 now.
Number 7 is a movie that kind of flopped, and people kind of hated it at the time because it was like everything that was wrong with giant action blockbusters, and that's Last Action Hero. Yes. But Last Action Hero, even at the time, I enjoyed it. But even though there was a big backlash against it, because it was a big giant Schwarzenegger vanity project, and people kind of were rooting for it to fail. But what Last Action Hero really was, though, it was first of all, it's another movie from Shane Black. Before he started directing, of course. And Shane Black obviously is my favorite writer, and he's one of my favorite directors, honestly, too. Because he's responsible for Lethal Weapon movies, for The Last Boy Scout, for Long Kiss Goodnight, for this, and then of course he went on to do Kiss Kiss Bang Bang and The Nice Guys and all these movies. He just has such a great gift for dialogue and humor that his voice, for my tastes and my sense of humor, just works perfectly for it. And then add on to the fact that this movie is all about, somebody going into the world of movies, or somebody from the world of movies coming into the real world and seeing how things differ and kind of playing with those stereotypical things you see in movies and all that, and kind of turn on its head and making fun of itself. That's what I liked about it. Especially even Schwarzenegger got to kind of poke fun at himself, because there's movies in the scene where he's actually facing off, his fictional character is facing off with the actual Arnold Schwarzenegger. And of course, it's packed with cameos and all kinds of people from Hollywood, and it's just a lot of fun. So, Last Action Hero, number 7.
Yeah, dope film.
And yours.
My number 7, I think I had some Oscar love. The Fugitive is what's going to come in at my number 7 here. Good old Harrison Ford is framed by that damn one-armed man, and he's got to prove himself innocent here, even though that is a breathtaking escape as well. And also, one of my favorite parts about it too is Tommy Lee Jones. One of my favorite lines is he's trying to explain to him, "Hey man, I'm innocent," and very simply and straightforwardly goes, "I don't care."
I'm just doing my job. I don't care.
He is. His job is you are wanted. You're a fugitive, and I'm arresting you. I'm not saying you're innocent. I'm not saying you're guilty. And he might even kind of believe him to a degree or not, but it doesn't matter. He's coming after you, and so good that he even got his sequel spinoff a couple years later in U.S. Marshals because it was a fun character to kind of watch, and I actually would have gone even more. Although I did find it funny, U.S. Marshals, again, the guy was innocent. I was like, they should have just made him guilty, because I thought it was just weird. Like, damn, man, Tommy Lee Jones has really bad luck chasing innocent people.
Yeah, they should have had somebody who was guilty then.
No, that was my only thing. I was like, damn, again, the guy's innocent, and he's got to prove to him, and like, again, Tommy Lee Jones is like, again, I still don't care. They should have said that in the sequel. I continually do not care. But this is a lot of fun here, man. I think Ford's really getting it as well. He kind of walks that line of a little bit of a badass, but also kind of the everyman as well here. You know, I mean, he's not all of a sudden, kung fu master or anything, but he's smart and trying to convince, trying to figure out what the fuck's going on and figuring out the one-on-one man. Early Jane Lynch cameo too. And then if you ever watch Scrubs, the janitor.
Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore, yeah. Hey, it was that a trivia question recently? So yeah, Julianne Moore was in it as well. 6.
Yeah. Well, just because you mentioned Oscar love, I meant to say this at the beginning of the show. My list, I mean, everybody does it their own way. My list is like my favorites, the ones I enjoy watching the most. So like, I don't go like best. Like, you're not going to see Schindler's List on my list because it's a great movie. It's a great made movie. But it's not anything I ever want to watch again.
It's not tugging on your heartstrings and rewatch. Yeah. I'm always torn as to what I do. I feel like I'm 60-40. Like, I think everything on my list is things I would go back to a lot. And you know what I mean? Like, well, maybe not. There's like my number 4 is not a movie I go back to a lot. But
well, that's just it. Everybody does it differently, and some people do it that way. I'm saying so people have some frame of reference. For me, these are just like my favorites, my ones I enjoy watching the most.
Oh yeah.
My number 6 was in your intro as well. It is Sleepless in Seattle. I'm always a sucker for a good rom-com, and of course you got Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, who are kind of the king and queen of those kind of things. And together, they're practically perfect. By Nora Ephron, who was the screenwriter of When Harry Met Sally, which is the best rom-com of all time. It had a great soundtrack full of kind of classic songbook romance songs, as well as a few new ones. The kids, a little annoying, but Meg Ryan, there she is. She's beautiful, of course. And her and Tom Hanks, just in the prime of their careers, doing rom-coms, doing what they do best. This is just one that I really liked.
Very good. I don't have any reason why this is a blind spot. It just is for some reason, because I actually really like You've Got Mail, and I like You've
never seen this?
So no, and that's what I mean. Like I feel like every part of me would probably dig it to a degree. So it's just one of those things I just need to sit down and really get to.
Definitely check that one out.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, sooner or later, I don't know why I haven't. I feel like I started once, but definitely need to sit down and just check it out, because, like I said, everything around it, I know I've enjoyed. So, my number 6. So I didn't have Cliffhanger, but don't worry, Sly, because I do have Demolition Man on the list. So seashells, we'll never quite know. And Taco Bell is taking over. I don't know, man. You mentioned Last Action Hero, which I think is also a great example of just a really fun world they built. And this is another one where I really just sucked into this world where he's frozen because, unfortunately people died at the beginning because of Stallone, or maybe he's negligent. So both him and Wesley Snipes, I think he's a fantastic villain in here, rocking the golden blondes. They both get awakened in one way.
Too. Yeah.
He's just, and I really gotta imagine he's having so much fun here, man, because he's chewing the scenery. He's having fun. All the cast around him too. You got underground people with Dennis Leary and Jesse Ventura. You got Sandy B. You got Rob Schneider in a couple movies he did with Stallone. And yeah, man, I this is one I've gone back to so much. I think maybe that's why it's above Cliffhanger. I like Cliffhanger, but like this is one I just find myself kind of revisiting more so and having a lot of fun with here. I think there's funny moments here. He's not allowed to curse anymore. Even when Snipes figures out he can't curse, it's again very bloody and violent here. When Snipes kind of gets out, that's pretty violent, and you're kind of ready for that final showdown between these two as well. You're looking forward to it when it finally happens here, and I can literally picture myself having like squirt guns and reenacting this scene right here. So yeah.
This is one it was all over my list. It was everywhere as high as like number 7, and it's down in my honorable mentions. And then it's like my 16. It's my last honorable mention that didn't make it. And I don't even know why. It's kind of thing where if you ask me tomorrow, my list will be completely different as far as these. So
yeah, maybe. Yeah, like, I think my 16 was a Nightmare for Christmas. You know, I have everything's above it at the moment. Well, we're in that top half. What's in your top half?
All right, my number 5 should be the last one that you maybe never heard of, or at least never seen. My other 4 I think are pretty popular. This is a movie called Untamed Heart. This is a drama romance. This is one not a lot of people pay attention to much, and I understand it. But it's got Christian Slater, Marissa Tomei, and Rosie Perez, kind of the 3 main stars of this thing. And so Christian Slater, who is right in the middle of like this run that went from like, Heathers to Pump Up the
like
Bummy, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, this True Romance, Interview with the Vampire. So he's like just having the time of his life in this section of his career. And Marissa Tomei is just coming off her Oscar win in My Cousin Vinny. And even though it's a drama, she's still just as adorable as ever and gets to have a little bit of fun in it. And Christian Slater, though, what I like about this one is kind of, he's really showing he can act. He's not doing his usual Christian Slater-y kind of young Jack Nicholson thing. He's a very quiet, shy kid. Basically works with this girl. He ends up saving her from being attacked in the park one night, and then basically she finds out he's always loved her, and they, this romance blossoms between them. Marissa Tomei at the time, for obvious reasons, as you can see on screen, I was in love with her at the time when this came out. From My Cousin Vinny, pretty much till now, honestly. But yeah, this is I think when she was at her best. But it's a very sweet romance. It's a drama. It's not a comedy at all. I mean, there's probably funny lines here and there, but it's definitely a drama. But it's just, I don't know why. I can never express why this one hits me the way it does and why I enjoy it the way it does, but I just do. What is your number 5?
Good pick there, and you're right. I've not seen it, but no, I kind of like how you sold it to me here, and yeah. What happened to Christian Slater? What dropped for him all of a sudden?
I don't know, because he started going for more Oscar baity stuff. We did like Murder in the First and a few things, and then he kind of started doing kind of stuff with direct to video, and he still would pop up occasionally in small roles, and then he's even supporting roles in things like Mr. Robot. He tried a few TV series. There's Breaking In, which is hilarious. If you have not seen that show, watch that show with him and Michael Rosenbaum and Odette Eastman and a bunch of other people.
Maybe not.
He did a show called My Own Worst Enemy, where he like had this alternate identity.
I can definitely think of all this. Yeah, My Own Worst Enemy,
and then of course like Mr. Robot and stuff like that. But
is that Breaking In? Maybe I'm thinking of Breaking In. Oh yeah, then I am thinking of Breaking In. I like Breaking In. My number 5, from a man who loves a woman to a bat that just loves justice. The animated Batman: Mask of the Phantasm. So I've always said as a 90s kid, I think we were absolutely spoiled with the greatest superhero cartoon shows alive. I don't think there's a better trio than Batman, X-Men, and Spider-Man of the 90s, and we were able to get one on the big screen, and then as well as, of course, VHS later. And yeah, Mask of Phantasm takes a relatively, original villain here. You do have a little bit of Joker sprinkled in there as well, so you got, of course, the iconic Cameron Conroy, Mark Hamill voices. I've said before, if I close my eyes and or if I'm reading a comic book and I'm, reading a Batman comic book, I'm hearing Cameron Conroy in my head and whatnot. So, and it's a well-made movie, man. The entire show was well made. I think it was nominated for like Emmys and like normal Emmys. Like it's just because they were like, it's well written, it's well made, and the movie also lives up to that too. Even like the direct-to-video one, the Sub-Zero is a pretty good one too. But yeah, Phantasm I think is really great, and animated or not, I think worthy of the list. What do you got for number 4?
My number 4 people have heard of, but at the time it was a complete and total flop. I'm the only person I know who saw this movie in the theaters, but it has since come around and become a comedy classic, and that is So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Okay.
So Mike Myers is best known for obviously like the Austin Powers movies and the Wayne's World movies. And while I enjoy the Wayne's World movies, the Austin Powers movies not so much. This This is by far my favorite movie of his. I think it's the
Really?
funniest movie he's in. I love everything about this movie. It's kind of it's a darker movie than the other ones, obviously, because it's like playing off this murder plot. Um, it's directed by Tommy Schlamme, who's one of the creators of West Wing, along with Aaron Sorkin. He directed this. Nancy Travis in it. Got Amanda Plummer plays a psycho roommate of Nancy Travis. She's a lot of fun in it. But mostly it's Mike Myers, like he does in many movies, playing multiple roles. He plays his own father, and those scenes are some of the funniest scenes of the entire movie. This is another one that's become maybe one of my most quoted movies on a daily basis among me and my friends. It's just like I don't even realize I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just I've incorporated these lines into my vocabulary. But it's a very funny movie. Like I said, nobody else saw it in theaters, but luckily it has grown in the years since then, on video and cable and stuff like that. If you haven't seen it, it's on Max right now. I recommend everybody watch this movie. It's hilarious.
I know definitely. So like, I'm definitely obviously a big Wayne's World guy. I do like Austin Powers. I think the first two are really great. I love the second one actually the most. This is probably one I've seen the least of, funny enough. So I think I definitely do deserve a watch because I do think when I saw it, it's definitely years ago. So I think deserved a rewatch as well because I do think you're right. As in, like, I feel like it's definitely gotten in retrospect more love than it did at the time here.
Absolutely,
yeah. My number 4, from one jolly, just feel good film to another. Philadelphia though is my number 4.
That was hilarious, man. I love that.
Oh God,
funniest movie of the year.
Yeah, look at him trying to fight injustice. No, but just I'm a big Tom Hanks guy too. I think T. Hanks can kind of do no wrong. I call him T. Hanks. And Denzel I think is great too. Of course, I feel like it's almost cliche now that it's kind of the whole like he doesn't also like gay people, but he'll get warmed up towards the end. But like I feel like this is the 90s, so I think it wasn't as super cliched as it is now. But because I think they both do a really great job here too, and I think it's really well directed too by Jonathan Demme, who has certain things he does that I think really work well here. And it's heartbreaking. I think Tom Hanks is kind of perfect. It's just this guy who just simply because he's gay and has justice brought upon him, and just sells it so good in the courtroom scenes when he's explaining it to it, when he's just looking for justification, and the relationship between him and Denzel is really well earned as well. So yeah, Philadelphia does come in at my number 4 as we're about to approach the top 3.
My number 3 is one you've already talked about, and that is The Fugitive. Fugitive, a movie that really had Harrison Ford not been in this movie, I think I would not have had any interest at all in. Most people, I think, would have, because it's this TV show that's been off the air for decades at this point. And they're like, oh, they're making a movie of that. Okay, sure, whatever. But Harrison Ford started it, so I'm like, I'll check it out. I mean, come on, it's Indiana Jones. He's Han Solo. I got to watch. But because at the time I wasn't as into prestige movies as I am now. Yeah. But I'm like, I'll check it out. And this is actually one of the most solid thrillers I've ever seen. It's definitely one of the best TV adaptations of all time into a movie. Part of that's Harrison Ford. I do think that Tommy Lee Jones gets to kind of outshine him, though, because he gets to have a little bit more flamboyant role. He gets to kind of have fun with it. And that's the thing, is he's not even a funny guy necessarily. He's very straight-laced, but just the things he says and the way he says it, it's actually quite hilarious watching this thing. But yeah, like you've already kind of covered this, but the supporting cast is great. The only thing I can add to what you've already said is that this is a Chicago movie through and through as well. I live in the Chicago area, so I'm there a lot, and I know I can watch this movie and know most locations they're going to and stuff, and that just makes it kind of extra fun.
I've never been. You never invite me, so
it's your 3.
Yeah, speaking of piggybacking off of things that have been talked about, Last Action Hero absolutely is on my list here, coming in at number 3 here. Everything you said, just kind of piggybacking off that here, man. Again, as a kid, you're almost like jealous and you want to be in this friggin' world, man. You want to be the kid that gets a golden ticket, that gets to hang out with Arnold. And I love it, man. I love the villains here. I think, was it Charles Dance with the eye? And I think he's great. And then you got like the Reaper, Tom Noonan. You got even Ian McKellen's creepy at the end where he's literal death. Yeah, literally death. Nice little rapport with the owner here. Yeah, man, I've always been enthralled by this picture. And it's weird because I actually just said this either today, if not last night, without necessarily thinking that I'm going to talk about it tonight. I feel like, I grew up, obviously, I'm not reading reviews when I'm, 4 or 5, 6, just thinking this movie's fucking awesome. And then a year later on finding out like, oh yeah, this movie kind of got like middling, money and middling reviews and whatnot. And then, but now I feel like, again, people are kind of retroactively going back and being like, yeah, maybe this movie was just slightly ahead of its time and people weren't getting like quite the humor that they were going for. I think Arnold's very funny and charming. His little kind of slow realization that he is this movie character here. And even like the final scene with him and the kid kind of having to say goodbye, I think is sweet. Dan DeVito's a cat. Like there's a great cannon scene. There's a lot of fun here, man. And this was even one I have revisited in the last like year or so. Almost like, oh, is it still gonna be fun? And like it is. So
I enjoy most Arnold movies, but there's only a few of them that I really love. And this has actually turned out to be one of my higher tier ones. Like not my top one, but one of the higher tier ones. And like I think a lot of that is like you talk about it's a lot of the fun of it and the dialogue. I think a lot of that comes from Shane Black. But I also forgot to mention earlier, it's directed by one of my favorite directors, John McTiernan, who is the guy responsible for Die Hard, of course, which everybody knows I love.
Okay, there you
go. Hunter Red October, Thomas Crown Affair, which is a super underrated movie. So a lot of great stuff.
One of my favorites is Charles Dance just murders somebody in the street. He's like, "Hello, I just killed somebody. Does anyone care?" I don't know, just a lot of fun. That's my 3, and coming to you, number 2. What you got?
My number 2, I think a lot of people would assume would be my number 1.
Ooh.
And that is Jurassic Park.
Ooh.
Jurassic Park is definitely the most iconic movie on my list, and I love this movie to death. Even at the time I saw it, I'm like, it's not a perfect movie. It's something about it, and some scenes doesn't quite work for me. But I love this movie, and I love what it did not only technologically with how real everything looked. I mean, because up till now, special effects and it would have been stop motion or other things like that. It would have looked like this. Everything, even to this day, these effects hold up and look completely real. With all the advances they made in 30 years, and you still can't really tell. Love that. Didn't really know who Sam Neill was at the time. I had seen him in movies, but didn't know who he was. But I thought he was a lot of fun in this movie. Laura Dern kind of got her breakout here as well. But obviously the stars of this movie is the dinosaurs. And those are also just so well done. And it's a great thriller. Samuel L. Jackson gets a start here. Another great, memorable John Williams score, of course. And then, of course, Spielberg. Which, I mean, he makes this and Schindler's List in the same year. I don't know anyone who's had a better year than that. It swept tons of Oscars, and this movie made all the money. So he got to get the best of both worlds in one year with these two movies.
No, it's a great movie. I guess maybe I'll talk about it later. I don't know.
What do you got
to here, well, speaking of things that I do think go too low on your list, because I do love it. I got Groundhog Day is coming in my number 2, the Bill Murray. I'd say classic here. We've been kind of spoiled these last few years of having a lot of fun movie repetition theories here, and by that, each morning you wake up with the same thing. If you like horror, check out Happy Death Day. If you like comedy, check out Palm Springs. If you like action, check out Boss Level. What I mean. And this is kind of to me the OG.
If you like sex comedies, watch one Netflix called Premature, where every time a guy ejaculates, his day starts over again, and it's really cool.
Oh, okay. I don't remember that one. So yeah, there you go. So, but I think this is kind of the OG. It also kind of starts with here. I love that it also gets a little serious here. Like he really does get kind of depressed and gives up at one point here. The slow building of him kind of earnestly winning over the love interest here. Constant, Tobolowsky. I think everyone's pretty funny here. Michael Shannon wins WrestleMania tickets, so that's always a fun moment for me. But no, this is. I just think it's great. I love the concept here. I love the ways they go with it here. I think Murray is also really good and walks a good line of kind of being kind of being a little annoying and shitty, and actually kind of earnestly winning over the audience at the very end. So yeah, I think Groundhog Day.
Punxsutawney here, this small town here. This is actually filmed in Woodstock, which is like a half hour from me, Woodstock, Illinois. And then a few scattered scenes were actually filmed like in my town. So this is kind of fun. This is another one of those where I'm like, hey, I know that place.
I've been there. Hey, I've had dinner with Andy McDowell there. Well, we are at your number 1 movie. I have a hint, but what do you got for number 1?
My number 1, I think might surprise some people, but this is one that it's always been a movie I enjoyed, but just over the years it climbs and climbs and climbs and climbs my list, and I just love this movie, and that is True Romance, which you had lower on your list.
Yeah.
Tony Scott, I just love as a director. Everything from True Romance and Top Gun and Man on Fire and Deja Vu and Crimson Tide and Last Boy Scout. He just makes so many movies that I really love. Honestly, of the two Scott brothers, he's my favorite. Although I do like some Ridley Scott, but I like Tony Scott's stuff better. But then you also have a script that's written by Quentin Tarantino with the help of Roger Avery, which is the same team who brought you, of course, Pulp Fiction, and Quentin Tarantino's made all these other movies. You can definitely hear that Quentin Tarantino voice in some of the dialogue and some of the scenes, especially when you get into the scenes with Gary Oldman, and probably my favorite performance of his career because he's just having fun with that thing. Christopher Walken scene, things like that. You can hear Tarantino's voice in there. Like I said, you got Christian Slater at the height of his career in '93. Patricia Arquette in maybe one of the only roles I've ever actually liked her in. I'm not usually a fan of hers, but I like
Little Nicky.
What's that?
Little Nicky.
Yeah, we won't talk about that. But yeah, I mean, the supporting cast goes on and on. Michael Rappaport, Bronson Pinchot, Gary Oldman, Dennis Hopper, Christopher Walken, Brad Pitt, Tom Sizemore, Samuel L. Jackson, Saul Rubinek playing basically Joel Silver, Gandolfini is great in this. Val Kilmer is, you can't really see him. He's kind of the spirit of Elvis. But yeah, it just goes on and on. It's just a movie that it's the perfect blend for me of action and comedy, and kind of got that road trip Bonnie and Clyde kind of feel to it. I can't even explain why I enjoy it as much as I do. I think just that combination of Tony Scott and Tarantino is just, for me, is like the perfect mix in this movie.
That's a fun combo there. Sadly, yeah, I think it would have been cool to see more of it.
Yeah, and it was almost going to be directed by Tarantino. Apparently, after Reservoir Dogs, he had, of course, I think he also wrote Natural Born Killers, but he had this and Pulp Fiction. And they're like, well, you can direct one of them, and we're gonna make the other one. And he decided to make Pulp Fiction, which is obviously the right choice for him. And Tony Scott made this one, which I think probably made this one even better. Because while I think Tarantino at the time would have done a great job with this as well, I think Tony Scott's visual edge was better for this movie.
No, I'll give you that. No, it's a dope flick. My number one. Hey, you know what? Sometimes the basic answer is the right answer. I'm a basic bitch. It's Jurassic Park.
Not a wrong answer.
Exactly. I don't think anyone's gonna fight and go, really, man. No. Yeah. This is one, and you actually, you touched upon pretty much all the main things before here. But another thing I'll say too is that you mentioned the dinosaurs, which somehow still hold up. You know what I mean? Like you're not sucked out of it, even still till this day. Here, I mean, you believe it. The iconic water shaking. Turning, there's the big ass eye looking at you here.
I almost think the effects are better in this movie than a lot of modern day ones because they used CG when it was appropriate, but they also used like Stan Winston creations and stuff a lot of times.
It wasn't all reliant,
so it felt more real. Nowadays, everything just be all CG, and you can tell most of the time.
No, absolutely. I think that, and again, that's part of why it very much works here. When they're in peril, you feel it here. The great, I'd say even iconic, was like kitchen scene where two little kids, just kind of finding little different holes and ducks in, and I think that works great. You're fearing for them. Supporting cast is here. Jeff Goldblum kind of seals the show and gets his own sequel. Sam Jackson, hold on to your butts. Wayne Knight's fantastic. I still say he could be alive. I mean, come on, he got sprayed. He should have surely been one of the last three. Like just kind of scarred up. Like I've got an idea. They brought back BD Wong. I like BD Wong, but fucking give me Wayne Knight. But yeah, no, I mean, of course the score. No one needs to reiterate how good the score is too. I'm even someone that doesn't necessarily always pick up on score, but like even as a kid, everyone knows that score.
While we're at it, they could have brought back one-armed Sam Jackson too. We never saw him dead. We just saw an arm.
Hey, there you go. Nowadays, man, unless like you see the bullet in the head and it explodes, like everyone.
And even then, honestly.
Even then, man. I mean, look at Fast and Furious. No one fucking dies in that franchise at all. John Cena's gonna be in the next one. Spoilers. My guess of those spoilers. But yeah, no, yeah, that's true. Yeah, Sam Jackson's like, "What's up, guys?" No, I'm good. Just So yeah, those are like Brett Spiner from Independence Day. Like that dude's definitely dead, but man, nope. Yeah, now is that number one Jurassic Park here? Basic, but I think very apropos. Brian, want to go over that number your 10 again?
Okay, at number 10, Heart and Souls. Number 9, Cool Runnings. Number 8, Indian Summer. Number 7, Last Action Hero. 6, Sleepless in Seattle. 5, Untamed Heart. 4, So I Married an Axe Murderer. 3, The Fugitive. 2, at least today, Jurassic Park. And 1, True Romance.
Very nice. My list was a bit of a visual representation. Follow me on Letterboxd at Ben Affleck. We got True Romance at 10. 9, Wayne's World 2, 8, Falling Down, 7, The Fugitive, 6, Demolition Man, 5, Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, 4, Philadelphia, 3, Last Action Hero, 2, Groundhog Day, and number 1, Jurassic Park. Some more honorable mentions. Hard Target's a lot of fun too.
I saw you sneak in 5 extra honorable mentions down there.
Sneaky. That's how I sneak it in. Come on, Hard Target doesn't get enough love. Well, Brian, appreciate having you. We'll definitely have you back. We've hinted at some other years, some other topics, maybe a bit Netflix talk soon.
As much as you want me, man. I'll come back and do these things. These are fun.
I appreciate you. Any plugs, party words?
Not really a party words. So thanks for having me. This is just the first of many. I hope we can do these more often. As far as plugs, I'm all over the place. You see me show up all over the place. Mostly I do a channel with Sean Waskrug called the Movie Crusaders, where we do like a weekly show. We also have just kind of some random reviews and random shows. It's just like talk about movies. Check it out.
Absolutely, and my plug, this channel. Subscribe, please. Do it. And if you didn't like this, then tell an enemy and have them subscribe and torture them with it. Tell a friend, tell an enemy, and we love you more than you'll ever know. Good night.